Hey everybody, welcome back to Mindful Scrolling. I am your host, Michaela, and back by popular demand is my husband, Philip.
By demand? Someone demands me. Wow. What an honor.
I'm going to say hello.
Oh, hi everybody who demanded me.
Yeah, we just tend to get like a lot better reception when you're on the pod. So I guess me by myself, I'm just boring.
I don't think you're boring.
Oh, thanks, baby.
I like you.
Thanks. So today we're going to do something a little bit different. I have officially decided to cut out most of our little introductions because I feel like they are taking way too much time. If this is like a horrible idea, let me know. But as of right now, I think we're going to go ahead and just stick to morning moment and then maybe book of the week because I enjoy talking about my book of the week. Our topic today, and I want this to be a little bit more topic focused moving forward, just jumping right in. We are going to be talking about victimhood, which I think is a very, very prevalent issue among our generation right now. It's also a very controversial topic and something that we may or may not be stepping on toes, but you know what? It's a free country and we have freedom of speech, and I feel like it's something that's been really heavy on my heart lately and kind of what that looks like. So we'll get into that in a little bit. So real quick, our morning moment. I'm going to say for me this week, my biggest morning moment, and this is not something like super spiritual or like devotion centric at all, like normal, but and Philip was there so he can attest to this, I woke up on, I think it was Saturday, Friday or Saturday, and I ran, are you guys ready for this? I ran 5K, so 3 miles, and only stopped once.
I knew this was going to be your moment.
Did you really? Yeah. How did you know?
Because it was just such like an incredible, it was like the moment.
It was so bizarre because I feel like in general, I get in a little bit more cardio than you.
You do.
Yeah, you are definitely more weights. I am at this point not lifting weights at all. So my workouts are very cardio heavy, and you stopped a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is fine. Like you don't run and walk as much as I do, so that's to be expected. But right now I'm going for distance, not necessarily time. And my time is still not great. I am definitely slow. But it is such a huge accomplishment for me to run 3 miles.
Yeah.
Like I didn't even think
consistent.
I could. Yeah, I didn't even think I could run a mile. Like a couple months ago, I couldn't run a mile.
Yeah.
And I think I've been holding myself back because this whole time I was able to do it. I've been really afraid of cramping. If anybody that is listening is a runner and has any experience with cramps and can give me some advice, that the day that I completed the 5K with only stopping once, I didn't cramp. And I think it might have something to do with it not being as hot out that morning. I'm not really sure. But that is something that has held me back from running a lot more, is that I will get I cramp so bad. But that was definitely like my highlight, and it felt like a huge accomplishment because one of my big goals this year was to become a runner. Do you think I did it? Have I done it?
I think so.
Am I a runner now?
If a t-shirt exists, it should belong to you.
Oh wow, thanks baby. Do you have a morning moment just you briefly want to share just to keep this moving along?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
So recently a office, friend, mentor, and even college professor retired from the office.
I love you, by the way. I just needed to say that real quick. You look really cute right now.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
But no, he retired recently over, was it 45 years?
Something crazy.
Yeah, over 45 years working there. I mean, the guy was just a beast, but
that was my
this
water
was
bottle.
the first day without him being there, and Tuesdays are like the meetings, and he would conduct these meetings, and we all just kind of like lamented a Larry-shaped hole in our hearts this morning. But it was kind of we're cracking jokes, we're having a good time. It's just even though he's retired, I mean, we still get to talk to him and stuff, but it's just like he's left a good impact, and And one that's also very Christ-led too.
That's
He was
beautiful.
a wonderful, wonderful Christian to have around the office.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. So Philip's morning moment was in real time. Mine was like literally last week, but cool. Okay. So then book of the week. So I finished a few different books. I think, we had some bombs this week. I did finish in real time. So with my eyeballs, Southern by Design. I actually just finished that, like maybe 15, 20 minutes ago.
With your eyeballs.
With
no
my
less.
eyeballs. Well, I
Yeah.
have to distinguish between like physical reading and then audiobooks because
Yeah.
I can finish 2-3 audiobooks in a week.
Oh, I know.
No
I know.
problem.
I see you.
On audio this week, I finished. This one says that I started it in January. Oh no, that's when it was published. Okay, I was like, that is wrong. So The Ones We Love, I don't think I mentioned that last week. I gave that one a 4-star. It was an okay thriller. Not much to say about it. We Are Watching by Allison Galen was 2 stars. I did not like it at all. It was a stupid. I'm not really into like the satanic cult, cheesy, we're gonna kill you because you worship Satan books. And I didn't know that's what it was gonna be. It was also like set during COVID, which is super cringy to me.
That's a huge turn.
So it was just not good. I gave that one 2 stars.
Huge turn off.
Oh yeah, and Southern by the Design, the one that I just finished, I gave it like a 3.5. It was cute. It was sweet. It had like a sweet little romance. It is set in Charleston, and I wanted more Charleston. It's about a designer that renovates historic homes, and it's kind of like the one that got away love story. So it was really cute. I enjoyed reading about the historic homes because I love Charleston so much, but I didn't get enough of that. It ended up getting kind of like a lot of long conversations about design elements, and it kind of became really dragging and boring in the middle. So that kind of killed it. Also, there was like all this shade on Beaufort, which like kind of is upsetting to me because I personally love Beaufort. And I don't know if the author just has like an issue with Beaufort or she just really wanted us to know that her character grew up there and just had bad memories, so she hated Beaufort.
What you told me about it, I was really surprised.
Yeah, Beaufort was like the worst place. Like she could not wait. She actually tells her mother at the end of the book that she doesn't want to ever go back. And I just thought that was so sad, especially since we're probably going to be in Beaufort like this upcoming weekend for the 4th of July. So, yeah. So those are my books. And then currently I am reading The Night and the Moth on audio. And again, I'm kind of in my fantasy mode right now. It right now is excellent. The hype is real. I am really loving it. It's got a lot of really in-depth world building, and it's kind of a slow burn, and I'm just totally here for that. So super good so far. Okay, that's it. We're not doing any other intros. That's it.
Wow.
And that took almost 9 minutes. So see, I still need to trim it down somewhere. I don't know. But let's go ahead and hop into this topic.
Yeah.
I am really excited to talk about this because I feel like you and I have been having this discussion for so long, and we need to unleash it on the podcast today. So real quick to kind of intro this, when I talk about victimhood, I am talking about this mindset that unfortunately I think a lot of people in their 20s, but I'm going to say even more so mid 20s to early 30s, maybe even past that. So like millennials.
I would say it's predominantly a millennial mindset.
Yeah. Where we almost hold our quote unquote past trauma in so closely and so deeply and are so centered on what I think social media and a lot of dare I say the woke movement out there calls self-care, that things that have happened in our past almost become a personality trait. So in other words, instead of recognizing the trauma or perceived trauma and growing through that and moving on, we are now staying stuck in this rebuilding of ourselves almost in a way that it's like becoming like our trauma is becoming who we are. And so it's this perpetual victimhood where instead of growing and maturing through that, people adults are staying almost childlike because
Yeah.
they're unable to move past something that happened maybe 20 years ago.
Yeah.
What do you have to say on that topic?
No, I think that I'm gonna say it's a movement. The victimhood movement.
Yeah.
It is the differentiation between a wolf and a puppy.
Where do you think that comes from?
I think a huge part of that comes from a need to feel special. I think people very desperately want a reason to feel special, and I think a huge aspect of why that is comes from what content we've consumed over the years, rather if that is like tragic events like post 9/11, for example, like everyone wants to feel like they can escape everything. Everyone wants to feel like they can have some control.
Let's unpack that a little bit deeper.
Okay.
Because I'm talking about not just within like current events or past events or world events.
Yeah.
I'm talking about more on a personal basis.
Yeah.
I was homeschooled, as you know.
Yeah.
And there is something that I have seen that is very prevalent, especially from the more conservative homeschool movement of the 90s or 80s, 90s, early 2000s, where people are now reconstructing their faith. Now, I have to put a disclaimer. I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that if it is done in a healthy and biblical way. I feel like I'm stepping on a lot of toes right now, but there was a something that I had posted on Instagram 2 years ago now that shut me down like so hard that I've been really afraid to talk about since then. And I'm gonna touch on it super briefly. There was a documentary that came out called Shiny Happy People about the Duggars. And I started watching that documentary because it seemed like every person I knew that had grown up in the same type of circle as me was watching this documentary and talking about how triggering that it was for them. And so I was like, okay, I don't really feel the need to like watch this, but I just wanted to know what everybody was talking about.
Yeah.
And so I watched some of it and I ended up turning it off. And the reason I didn't finish it is because it quote unquote triggered me, but not in the same way that I think it was triggering a lot of other people. I had no idea, by the way, that this was going to go down this road, but here we go. I felt like it was painting every single like conservative Christian and conservative homeschooler as pedophiles, sex addicts, abusers, emotionally, physically, whatever. So I had gotten on Instagram and I put up a post trying to kind of explain and trying to defend what I perceived as my experience had been as somebody who was homeschooled. And I had so many people get extremely offended and jump down my throat over that post. And like to this day, I haven't really been able to talk about it because it just really took me aback. And
I don't think you've known how to react to it.
yeah, and I had a lot of people talk about reconstructing their faith in a way that I thought was really, dare I say, unhealthy. And
do you think that comes from that kind of victimhood mentality?
I do, and I am not sitting here calling anybody a victim or saying that people are calling themselves victims necessarily. But I think if we're talking about trauma or, again, perceived trauma from over 20 years ago or longer, when do we move through that and grow through that and start to let that unravel and go instead of becoming the trauma, becoming the thing that we say that we're reconstructing? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Sorry, I went on a tangent there.
Yeah, easiest way to sum that up, and I guess kind of go back to the point that I was making, everyone's trying to be an escape artist, and you can't escape reality. You know, trying to be a special butterfly, trying to have a unique quality that differentiates you from everybody, well, guess what? There's too many people trying to do that, and in that, no one is special. You need to accept reality. You need to mature from it. But there's so many people that want to have an excuse, not, to the point where it is their identity.
I mean, is it okay to be hurt from the past?
Absolutely.
Of course.
But you can't be hurt from the past forever.
Right.
When you do that, you are doing such a great disservice to yourself, I believe, not just from like a spiritual level, but just from the aspect of like, I mean, you exist. You need to have some level of agency, of self-respect. Rather if you're, man, woman, even a child, that's learning their place in this world, you owe it to yourself to care about yourself enough to not let those things weigh you down in every single aspect of life.
It gets to the point of like, who are you now?
Yeah.
Knowing all those things that happen, acknowledging those things that happen, hopefully going to therapy for those things that happen. Who are you now, and what can you do to move on from that hurt without becoming bitter?
Yeah.
And without,
I think exposure therapy honestly would wake a lot of people up, but that's just way too hard.
What does that look like though?
For someone who has
like we're talking about like church hurt, things like that.
Yeah,
what does that look like?
Well, to me, in church hurt, it is trying to find where in a church environment are you able to sit and just kind of endure before you need to take a step back.
Yeah.
And for someone that may have had, like, let's just say church leadership just completely wreck their self-esteem,
right,
convince them that they're not a real Christian, that they're not actually in service to the Lord, go to another church. Don't endure in the place that it happened.
Sure.
Not every church is the same. In fact, you are never going to find two churches that are the same.
Right, and I think it's like really sad too, because a lot of these experiences have caused people to lose their faith. And I do want to show whoever's listening that I'm not trying to be offensive at all in this conversation, and I want to show love and I want to show empathy. But at the end of the day, I think that every single one of us, just part of being a human being, has dealt with trauma in our lives. So it's kind of impossible, I think, to say that one person's trauma is different or deeper than another person's. I think the way that we handle it varies, quite a bit. And I never want to sit here and sound like, oh, I'm arrived, because there are things that I still deal with and things from my past that affect me every single day. So I want to have that empathy and I want to have that love as I share some of these feelings.
Do you know what boomers call that?
What?
They call that character development.
Interesting. That's very true.
They do. When it comes, and I'm not saying this as a bash against boomers. This is actually a plus for boomers. You guys know how to
ding, ding.
You guys know how to crush a lump of coal into a diamond. I'll tell you that.
I don't know. There's issues in every generation, so
yeah. So, but in that sense,
that area, that sense.
Yeah, I mean, don't be limited by these things. You're doing such a great disservice to yourself, and if you are a person where you think that it plugs you into a community to constantly remind yourself, feed yourself that you are some victim of something, that your trauma has forever scarred you, that community is not meant to be there forever.
Right.
They're meant to be there for that time for you to heal and to grow.
Don't use it as an excuse to hurt other people and lash out. That's
also something else. Don't let the entitlement of being a victim, rather if it's something that you were perceiving or something that realistically, like, everyone can agree, like, yes, you are a total victim in this situation. Don't hold that against other people to say that you are the leading expert in trauma.
My experience is not your experience. Your experience is not someone else's experience.
No.
We've all gone through something. And yeah, I think it's just that I see so much hate and bitterness. And I also realize we are all in different places in our journey. So it may sound, I can hear Marco meowing. Every time we record, my cat starts to meow. I think it's really important as Christians, and I'm speaking to the Christian community right now, because those who have walked away or lost their faith because of things that maybe happened because of homeschooling or the church, like, my heart goes out. I'm sad that happened, but I understand why.
Yeah, totally.
But for the Christian community, where do we find forgiveness? It's not always easy to forgive. There are things that have happened in my life where I am still actively working on forgiveness, because there are certain people that hurt me and I'm talking about in church leadership specifically, that I'm still very angry at. And I think that there is a healthy righteous anger there. And I can't sit here and say that I have fully forgiven them.
Yeah.
But there has to be a degree of letting certain things go as you grow and as you mature as a person and as an adult.
You have, though.
Oh, thank you.
No, you have, because I'm fully aware of what you're talking about. And I don't think that limits you in any aspect of the life that we have together.
Right. Well, thank you. I appreciate
We've talked about it. You know, we are, you know,
it's a huge part of my testimony.
We are so well past, I think, a point where that truly does affect your spirituality, your mentality whenever it comes to, you know, church lifestyles in general.
Thank you.
Your self-esteem.
Well, I don't want it to define who I am.
No, well,
that's what scares me with some of what I'm talking about.
That's the difference, though, and that goes back to this wonderful topic we have. The victimhood nation, the victim Olympics. You're not in the victim Olympics. Do you have baggage? Yeah,
sure.
But you're operating like a person that's trying to be healthy, and because of that, it's not a sport for you.
Right, and that leads me to my point to kind of close us out for the day. It is a choice, and I think even with all of the therapy in the world, all of the support groups in the world, whatever it is that people are doing, if you are not choosing to heal, you will stay stuck.
Yeah.
You have got to wake up, and it could take months, it could take years to get to that place of healing, but you have to actively choose to move forward in your life and not get so stuck on these things from the past and feeding that inner child and protecting that inner child so much that you cannot enjoy life and grow.
Yeah,
because it's all about growth at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have to grow, or we can't thrive as human beings.
Well, if you're having panic attacks about stepping outside because everything is inducing trauma in you, I mean, I feel for you. That's incredibly unfortunate that, you know, that's the life that you are living. But to some degree, that is a choice.
Well,
no, I'm saying it is because everyone has to do something that's uncomfortable. If it's not every day, it's every other day. Yeah. You know, I get up and there are things throughout my day that, you know, are stressors, and I deal with them anyway. Yeah. And because I, you know, choose to interact with those things and even relinquish a level of control with it, which we all need to in life. That's mature. That's maturity. I'm not having a trauma response to it, and people that are, you know, convincing themselves everything's a trauma response. Everything's a trauma response. Well, that's why I'm saying it's kind of like exposure therapy. You need to step out that door, and even if it's just you know, tippy-toeing, if it's not like a full step out into, you know, whatever ballpark you're in, you owe it to yourself to do that and to relinquish control over the situation so that you can properly heal and not be in a state of everything's giving me a panic attack.
I agree, because you can't always, I think very rarely choose whether or not you feel anxiety over something. Yeah. But you can choose how you respond to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, it's unfortunate, and I feel for the people that do have legitimate anxiety over that, but for the people that are inducing it in themselves. Yeah. And it's kind of like a comfort and misery sort of thing.
Well, like, you know, this past week, I've had some really difficult mental health days. You've been aware of that. And I mean, honestly, on Saturday, that was just a bad day for me. And I don't necessarily have a reason. It just was. Like, all, like, my OCD, everything that I deal with was just, like, tenfold. And, you know, kind of stepping away from it and looking at, okay, there is usually a reason why these things are triggered in me. And I don't really like to use the word trigger because I think it's overused, but for lack of a better word. And stepping outside of it and looking at it realistically, some of those things that I thought were really bothering me was just me reacting to disappointments and different things that, you know, you and I have goals for the next couple of months that maybe you're going to have to wait for a little longer. And so realizing that and acknowledging that has helped me to move on through that kind of like mental crisis that I felt like I was having.
Yeah.
But in that, I have learned to like there are certain people. My mom is like the biggest one that I can talk to that can kind of help me work through some of that anxiety.
Yeah.
But even within that, it's still an active choice. Like if you have a therapist or a safe person that you can talk to, it's an active choice to listen and digest what they're saying and then move on into the world with that knowledge and with that encouragement and support.
Yeah, that safe person's
that
not
make sense?
supposed to be a Band-Aid.
Right.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be something you reapply every time there's a boo-boo.
Right.
They're there to support you while you're on let's call it a latitude change. You're not meant to stay the same. You're not meant to be a consistent elevation. You need to go up. You need to rise.
Right.
And that person's supposed to be there to help you do that.
Yeah, no, completely agree. And guys, I know that this is a little bit of a heavier topic compared to what we normally talk about.
I think it's great.
But I think this is what Philip and I do best. A lot of our private conversations kind of tend to go down these more serious, deep routes. And
not because we're perfect or have it figured
Oh my
out.
gosh,
A lot of it is
not
us
at all.
trying to figure it out.
you
Really,
like wolfed down that latte I made you.
it was a good latte.
Oh, something on a lighter note. 2 things that I did this week that were really cool. So I've been wanting to make homemade vanilla syrup for a while. And I went out and got all the ingredients yesterday. Was that yesterday?
Yeah.
The day before. And made it, and it was super easy. And now we've got really, really like coffee shop quality lattes because of this like super easy vanilla syrup.
I'm gonna get you a bunch of little jars, and you're gonna make it, and you're gonna sell it.
I don't know if people would buy it, but I mean it's just sugar and water and
I will tell people
vanilla bean paste
in my circle that they have to buy it or they don't love me.
Okay. The other thing that I did was I made my own dry shampoo, and that's a topic for another time, but that's also been like a really cool thing. So
Successful, very.
just to kind of like lighten this up a little bit, but honestly, I kind of wanted this to be a shorter episode anyway. Are there any closing remarks that you have, Philip?
Don't choose to be a victim for clout or for friends or for comfort.
Even unknowingly.
Or,
you may not know you're doing that.
Yeah, you may not know that you're doing that. So to all that, and I guess maybe this echoes.
Look inward.
Yeah, something greater I guess there is kind of a Christian element to this. Always seek strength through the Lord. Know that He has prepared you to be able to handle the obstacles of life.
Right.
And because of that, know that there are doors that you are meant to step through. Do not be held back by fear, by thoughts of the past. Yes, there are people in your life that can support you. Let them help you through that threshold. And even if it takes weeks, months, years, cross that threshold and grow from an experience where you feel like you have been burdened.
What would you say to people that are in the process of reconstructing their faith?
Faith reconstruction, I'm going to be honest, people. I'm not too sure what the objective is there, because objectively, Jesus Christ, dying for your sins and resurrecting is more plausible than everything existing from nothing. So
yeah,
I'm sorry that sounds harsh, but that's just my take.
I think a lot of people, again, you and I did come from some, different upbringings. A lot of people are deconstructing from fundamentalism, deconstructing from legalism.
Yeah.
And I empathize with that. Yeah, I don't know that I have much to say on that right now.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I guess if I were to be less harsh, okay, I'll roll that back. I think people that deconstruct their faith are doing it because of a bad church life at home and actually in a church. Your issues are with people. It is not with your Lord and Savior.
Ooh, that's good. That's good.
Your relationship with Christ is a personal one. He knows you completely and fully in a way that the people that you have problems with will never understand you. Lean on that and let him strengthen you, even if it's in your silence.
Wow.
Know that you are loud in his presence.
Yeah, no, I love that. I agree. I honestly don't even think I have anything to add to that. That's perfect. So, all right, guys, that is going to be it for today. Just a very short, quick, punchy episode for you.
Punchy, yeah.
Punch you right in the gullet. But as always, we love you guys. Let me know if you like this format, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.